Have you ever looked at the clock and thought, why does 3:30 p.m. feel so odd? Not morning, not evening. Just stuck in the middle like a forgotten bridge between productivity and exhaustion. But what if I told you that this exact moment, 3:30 in the afternoon, might be the worst possible time to have sex? Sounds strange, right? It's not midnight. It's not even a taboo hour like 3 a.m., often linked with superstition. It's just 3:30 p.m., harmless on the surface. But beneath that number lies a combination of biological chaos, emotional misalignment, and social disaster waiting to happen. And it all starts with one thing: timing. You see, in life, and especially in relationships, timing is everything. And while people love to romanticize the spur of the moment, there's a thin line between spontaneity and self-sabotage. Some things require the right mood, the right place, and yes, the right time. Intimacy is one of them. But here's the twist. 3:30 p.m. might feel like a free moment for some. Maybe you're on a break, working from home, or sneaking a little time with your partner. But this hour comes with hidden consequences, the kind that don't show up until later. Fatigue, distraction, guilt, and unexpected interruptions can all creep in like unwanted guests. The truth? Most people who get intimate around this time aren't doing it because they want to. They're doing it because they're trying to escape something: stress, boredom, a fight, or even loneliness. And when sex becomes a cover-up instead of a connection, the damage doesn't just show up in the moment. It lingers in the relationship. But we're just scratching the surface. Because while timing might feel like a small detail, the next chapter reveals something deeper. Your body might actually be fighting against you at 3:30 p.m., and you won't even realize it until it's too late. Let's be honest, sex isn't just emotional or physical. It's deeply biological. Your body responds to hormones, rhythms, and cycles you're not even aware of. And one of the most overlooked aspects of intimacy is something so basic, it almost feels silly to mention: timing. Specifically, your internal clock. You might have heard of circadian rhythms, the body's natural 24-hour cycle that controls sleep, energy, alertness, and yes, even libido. And according to studies on human energy and hormonal patterns, 3:30 p.m. falls into one of the least ideal windows for sexual activity. Why? Because by that time, your cortisol levels are crashing. Cortisol is your alertness hormone, the one that keeps you focused and engaged. Around 3:30 p.m., you're no longer sharp. You're sluggish. Your body's craving a break, not connection. It's why many people reach for coffee, take naps, or hit an afternoon slump right around then. And here's another piece of the puzzle: testosterone. For men and women, testosterone is highest in the morning, between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. That's when your body is naturally primed for sexual energy. By the time the clock hits 3:30, testosterone has dipped significantly. Your desire? Likely lower. Your energy? Depleted. Your ability to fully be present? Questionable. But most people don't think about that. They think about opportunity. It's quiet. The kids aren't home yet. You're both in the house. You've got 30 minutes of freedom. But biologically, your body is checked out. So while you might be going through the motions, you're not actually connecting. Not mentally. Not emotionally. Not physically in a way that matters. And here's the kicker: your body knows. It senses disconnection. It remembers forced intimacy. And over time, that mismatch between what you feel and what you act on starts to erode the emotional safety in your relationship. It creates a silent dissonance. It's not about whether you can have sex at 3:30 p.m. Of course you can. The question is, should you? Because when you go against your biology too often, things break down. Desire fades. Touch feels empty. Connection turns into routine. And routine becomes resentment. But biology is only part of the problem. Because even if your hormones were perfectly aligned, there's something even more unpredictable happening at 3:30 p.m. Something that has the power to ruin any moment, no matter how passionate. And we'll dive into that next. Let's paint the scene. You're finally alone. The house is quiet. The lighting is just right, sunlight slanting through the window like a movie set. And just as things are starting to heat up, ding-dong, the doorbell rings. Or maybe it's not the doorbell. Maybe it's your phone lighting up with a Slack message from work. Maybe it's your dog barking at a squirrel outside. Or worse, a notification from the school. Your child has been marked absent from sixth period. Panic, confusion, mood gone. Because here's the raw truth. 3:30 p.m. is a minefield. It's the hour when life resumes. The world is done pretending to be still. Schools let out. Work deadlines loom. Emails pile up. Deliveries show up uninvited. People get off their lunch breaks. Your neighbor decides now is the perfect time to mow the lawn. And you're trying to get intimate in the middle of all that noise. There's nothing romantic about a ticking clock. There's nothing sexy about watching the time, wondering when your kids will burst through the door or your partner's phone will start buzzing again. It's like making love in a hallway. Too many open doors, not enough privacy. And it's not just about interruptions. It's about what they symbolize. Because if you're only getting physical when the world might not interrupt, you're playing a dangerous game with your connection. You're settling for just enough intimacy instead of meaningful intimacy. You're trying to force passion into an hour that was never designed for peace. Over time, this chips away at something sacred. Sex becomes rushed, functional, a thing to check off the list before someone gets home or something goes wrong. And that's not just sad, it's damaging. Because now, even your most vulnerable moments are under stress. And where there's stress, there's no true intimacy. But here's what most people miss. It's not just the interruptions that kill the moment. It's the mindset they create. You start associating physical closeness with anxiety, with performance, with being on the clock. And that association, it doesn't go away. It follows you into every interaction after that. But this goes even deeper. Because choosing to be intimate at 3:30 p.m. isn't just inconvenient. It could be a sign of something much more serious. Your relationship is being hijacked by distraction. Now, let's talk about something most people don't realize. The paradox of productivity. At 3:30 p.m., we're in the midst of the afternoon grind. It's that hour when many of us are trying to get things done, trying to finish projects, catch up on emails, or make sure we're ahead of the game before the evening hits. And what happens? We push through. We force ourselves to keep going. It's just another hour to tick off on the clock, right? But here's the twist. When you try to squeeze in sex during this time, you're operating under the illusion that it's somehow the perfect moment. Maybe it feels like you're balancing work and pleasure in a neat little package. But you're not. You're fooling yourself. Here's why. Sex is not a productivity task. It's not something to check off a list, especially when you're feeling rushed, distracted, or stressed. And yet, that's exactly what happens when you try to sneak it into a busy schedule at 3:30 p.m. You end up treating sex like any other task you have to squeeze into your day, just another to-do on the calendar. You've been working all day, managing deadlines, juggling tasks. And suddenly, you think you can flip a switch and go from business mode to pleasure mode. But your brain doesn't work that way. It doesn't just switch off the tension or the clutter. Those thoughts, that stress, the pressure to be productive, it doesn't disappear when you decide to get intimate. Instead, you're left trying to be present with your partner while your mind is still swirling with everything you didn't finish. It's hard to focus on the connection when you're wondering if you're meeting deadlines, if you've replied to that email, or if your boss is about to text you about that report. That's not intimacy. That's just distraction, masquerading as closeness. And here's the kicker. When you use sex as a productivity break, you're not nourishing your relationship. You're just patching it up, hoping the moment will fill the void left by the lack of true connection. You're taking the shortcut, and it might feel good for a minute, but it doesn't last. And the emotional emptiness creeps in over time. The real question is, why are we so focused on getting things done that we forget intimacy isn't something to finish or rush through? It's about quality, not quantity. It's about presence. And 3:30 p.m., the productive time, is probably one of the least present moments of the day. You're already mentally somewhere else. And intimacy deserves better than that. But this isn't just about the timing. It's about what you're saying to your partner and to yourself when you constantly push intimacy into windows of convenience. It's about what happens when the act becomes a task. And the deeper issue will become painfully clear in the next chapter. where we talk about something a lot of people ignore, the cultural and emotional stigma around rushed intimacy. While we've been focusing on the biological, emotional, and productivity aspects of sex at 3:30 p.m., there's a whole other layer to this, a cultural and psychological layer. That makes this time even more problematic. Around the world, different cultures and religious beliefs have very specific attitudes toward timing and intimacy. And in some places, afternoon sex, especially around 3:30 p.m., carries a stigma or negative association. Let's take a quick historical journey. In many cultures, midday and afternoon hours are seen as times for productivity and social obligations, not for personal indulgences. The afternoon is the time to eat, work, or deal with responsibilities. There's an old belief that the energy in the afternoon is neither focused enough for work nor relaxed enough for pleasure. Essentially, it's the no man's land of the day. So what does that say about intimacy during these hours? It's often dismissed as unspiritual or inappropriate. And in some cultures, there's even a belief that sex at the wrong time, particularly in the afternoon, can disrupt the flow of good fortune or positive energy. Maybe it's a relic of a time when people strictly adhered to the rhythms of nature, but these ancient beliefs linger in many societies. In traditional religious contexts, there are also guidelines about when intimacy is acceptable. For example, some traditions suggest that after midday, the energy shift from the family and home-focused morning rituals to preparing for the evening. Afternoon sex might be seen as too indulgent or disruptive to the balance of work and rest. In other words, the act of intimacy is viewed as something sacred, and that sacredness is tied to specific times, places, and states of mind. You see, cultures and religions often teach us that timing is not just about convenience. It's about honoring the act. It's about aligning your actions with a rhythm that's bigger than just your immediate desires. And 3:30 p.m.? Well, in some circles, that's considered a time when indulgence, including intimacy, is out of sync with natural or spiritual laws. But even beyond the religious and cultural angles, we need to consider something more universal. How does it feel emotionally when your intimate moments are tied to convenience? How does it impact your sense of value and connection when sex is slotted into your day like any other task? The truth is, when you rush intimacy or force it at a time when you're mentally checked out, you're sending a message, not just to your partner, but to yourself. You're saying that connection doesn't need time to breathe. That sex is just a box to check, and not an experience to cherish. And this sense of rushed intimacy doesn't just exist in cultural shadows. It's also deeply woven into emotional scars. The more we treat sex like an obligation to fit into a busy schedule, the more we diminish its true power. But this only scratches the surface. Because beneath these cultural and emotional layers, there's one more thing that comes into play when you try to force sex at 3:30 p.m. Something that might surprise you, because it's less about timing and more about your connection to your partner. By now, we've explored the biological rhythms, productivity distractions, and cultural beliefs that make 3:30 p.m. an unfavorable time for intimacy. But perhaps the most crucial aspect we've yet to address is the emotional disconnect that arises when intimacy happens at the wrong time. Let's talk about the real reason why 3:30 p.m. can be such a tricky time for sex. You're not emotionally present. Sex isn't just a physical act. It's an emotional exchange, a vulnerable moment of connection. When you're distracted by deadlines, work pressures, or the ticking clock, the emotional layer of intimacy is compromised. And it's this emotional disconnect that, over time, can chip away at the foundation of your relationship. At 3:30 p.m., chances are you're tired, mentally drained, and possibly feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're not in a space where you can truly connect with your partner. Instead, you're trying to multitask, trying to juggle intimacy with the residual stress of your day. You might go through the motions, but you're not truly engaged in the moment. Think about it. When you're emotionally distracted, how do you think that affects your partner? The emotional energy you bring into sex is like an unspoken conversation. If you're emotionally absent, So too is your connection with them. Your partner feels that. They sense your disconnection. And if you're not giving your full attention to them, how can you expect them to feel truly wanted, loved, and cherished? What starts as a minor emotional disconnect during an afternoon tryst quickly evolves into a pattern. Maybe it becomes a habit, more rushed moments, more distractions, and before you know it, intimacy becomes another task on your to-do list rather than a meaningful expression of love and connection. And this emotional distance isn't just a one-time thing. It's cumulative. Over time, those missed connections, the disjointed moments, the lack of attention, they start to add up. You see, when intimacy becomes something you squeeze into the cracks of your schedule, it's no longer something to look forward to. It's not a shared space of closeness and affection. It's an obligation. And that emotional gap, it's the silent killer of relationships. It eats away at the bond you've built. But it doesn't have to be this way. It's never too late to reset. The power of timing is real. And recognizing when to step back and choose a better moment for intimacy can make all the difference in how connected you feel to your partner. And here's the kicker. When intimacy is nurtured in the right time, with the right energy and the right emotional focus, everything changes. But here's the truth. Most people won't realize just how deeply these emotional gaps affect them until it's too late. Until they're standing in a place where connection feels distant, where the spark is missing, and where they're left wondering, what happened to us? But there's hope. And this hope lies in one simple choice, rethinking your approach to timing. And as we reach the final chapter, we'll explore how to turn this all around. Because when you learn to respect the right time for intimacy, you bring back the magic. You restore that deep, emotional connection that makes sex meaningful, that makes love real. By now, we've broken down why 3:30 p.m. isn't the best time for intimacy, and we've uncovered the emotional and practical consequences of trying to force connection during a time that simply isn't right. But here's the good news. It's not too late to turn things around. If you're feeling that disconnect, if your relationship has been running on autopilot, or if you found yourself rushing through intimate moments just to get them over with, there's hope. There's a way to restore the spark and reclaim the intimacy that you deserve. It starts with reframing how you approach timing in your relationship. No more treating sex like a box to check off. No more trying to fit it into a window of time that doesn't suit your emotional energy. Instead, you need to start choosing moments when you and your partner can truly be present with each other, emotionally and physically. 1. Recognize the importance of emotional presence. If you're not emotionally available for each other, you're not ready for intimacy. This doesn't mean you need to set aside hours of your day. Just make sure the moment you do choose is free from distractions. Take a break from the constant flow of work, family, and stress. Whether it's during the evening, after a nice dinner, or even on a weekend morning, choose the time when you can truly be present with each other. When you're both mentally and emotionally engaged, the connection will be electric. 2. Set boundaries with the outside world. It's easy to feel like everything needs to be done right now. But the truth is, it's okay to put the world on hold for a little while. Put your phone on silent. Let the emails wait. When you prioritize your partner, you prioritize your relationship. The outside world can wait. Focus on the intimacy you're building together and let the outside noise fade away. 3. Create rituals around intimacy. Rituals are powerful. They allow us to shift our mindset and set the stage for meaningful connection. Maybe it's lighting a candle, putting on some soft music, or simply spending a few minutes talking before things heat up. Rituals help you both get into the right mindset, away from the daily grind, and into a space where intimacy can thrive. It signals to your partner, this is our time. 4. Embrace spontaneity within reason. While planning is key, spontaneity is a beautiful thing when done right. Sometimes the best moments are the unplanned ones, the moments when you're both caught up in the magic of the moment. But this spontaneity thrives in a relationship where you've already laid the foundation of emotional connection. Don't force spontaneity during the busiest time of the day. Let it come naturally when you're both in the right headspace. 5. Communicate openly about your needs. One of the most important things you can do in any relationship is communicate. Talk openly with your partner about what works for you when it comes to intimacy. Are there times that feel better for you? Are there moments when you're both in the mood to connect? When you communicate your needs, you create space for understanding and respect. It also ensures that you're both getting what you need out of your intimate moments. By following these steps, you could transform intimacy from something that feels rushed or obligatory into something that's genuine, deep, and fulfilling. Reclaiming your spark isn't about making huge changes overnight. It's about small, intentional shifts that put you and your partner first. It's about restoring the emotional connection that was lost in the rush of everyday life. So take the time, whether it's 8 p.m., 9 a.m., or whenever the moment feels right for you and your partner. Honor that time and prioritize your connection. Remember, when intimacy is nurtured in the right way, in the right time, it becomes something far more meaningful and lasting. You're not just going through the motions, you're creating an experience. And that's how you reignite the spark in your relationship. We've explored a lot in this video, from the reasons why 3:30 p.m. isn't the ideal time for intimacy, to the emotional and cultural barriers that can impact your connection. But now it's time to talk about the most important part. You have the power to change things. It's easy to fall into patterns, to get caught up in the grind, to think you're just too busy, too distracted, or too tired to invest in intimacy. But here's the truth. Your relationship is worth it. Your emotional connection with your partner is worth the time, the effort, and the energy to make it truly meaningful. So, here's your call to action. 1. Prioritize your partner. Don't let work, stress, or the chaos of life dictate when intimacy happens. Make the conscious decision to prioritize your connection, no matter what time it is. Find that sweet spot in your day or week when both of you can be fully present without distractions. 2. Set boundaries. Create space for each other. Say no to the things that take you away from the moment. Set clear boundaries, whether it's putting your phone on silent or telling your boss that you're taking a break to focus on what really matters. 3. Invest in emotional connection. Emotional intimacy is the foundation of physical intimacy. Talk openly with your partner. Share your needs, your desires, your fears. The more you communicate, the stronger your connection becomes. The more emotionally present you are, the more powerful your intimate moments will be. 4. Be intentional. Intimacy doesn't need to be a rushed task or something you squeeze into a busy day. It's about being intentional with your time together. Whether it's planned or spontaneous, make sure that it's always a time that's just for you two. 5. Take action today. If you're ready to reclaim the spark in your relationship, start now. Don't wait until tomorrow or next week. Right now is the perfect time to have that conversation with your partner, to carve out that special time together, and to make intimacy a priority in your life. Remember, the best moments in your relationship don't happen when you're rushing through life. They happen when you slow down, connect, and truly be present. So, take that first step today. Reclaim your connection. Reignite the spark. And never let your relationship be something that you fit in when it's convenient. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts below. When do you think is the best time for intimacy? And what changes are you planning to make to nurture your relationship? Until next time, stay present, stay connected, and never forget to prioritize the one you love.